If you take consistency and you go kind of like the foundation of consistency, I think we can all agree is discipline. Because if you have discipline, you do things when you don't want to do them, which means you're not just doing them when you're motivated. You're not just doing it when you feel good or things are going well for you. You're doing them every single day. And that every single day is the consistency. And the consistency combined with the discipline leads to the results, the life changes, the whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
This is Fast Mass Bodybuilding's next level coaching performance. We're going to help you understand the truth about training, help you build mechanics, and really learn how to train properly. Now, all of that comes with it. So this one we're going to talk about is going to be very, very special to my heart, special to all of us. We're going to talk about really our experiences here. We're going to talk about what we've learned from training, the truth, the raw, the real. Not just things we heard and we're just pitching back to you. We don't do that here. We're giving you examples and giving you truth experiences here, true life experiences. So with that being said, man, I just think like the best way to really start this is kind of give a little background about all of us, kind of tell everybody here, kind of what they've been through, just give a quick little intro into it, and we'll just take this, hit the ground running. I guess I'll start real quick just to kind of lead into it. We've all of us here, all three of us here have been athletes. We've all been athletes pretty much maybe our entire lives. I have, Dusty. I know you have, Josh, I've just from your background too. I know you've been an athlete and you've been killing it as well. And you coach athletes now, just so cool. So just biggest thing, one thing just from being an athlete, one thing from, doing all different types of sports, there is a common thread that I learned from that. There's a common takeaways that I learned from all the types of sports that I've done, and three massive things that I've learned and that I've taken away from all of it. But I would say the number one thing, and where I really think we can start with this, is just the power of, consistency, the power of doing something day in and day out without stopping, without hindering, without allowing anything to stop you. That builds something powerful in yourself, but it instills such confidence in your abilities, and it allows you to become something new, something maybe not new, but actually maybe something you were always born to be. It allows you to unleash that into reality. It allows you to become something incredible, something powerful. There's a thing with the human spirit, the human will. Once we put our mind to something, once we focus all of our intent and all of our mind, all of our heart on something, there is nothing that can stop us. And that's just such an incredible, powerful thing that I've learned personally from sports, from being an athlete all my life. That's really where Muscle University kind of was born out of. It all started with the mindset, in learning the mindset of things, learning how powerful you really truly are. And it all starts right up here. But with that being consistent, it helps you really start to just grow as an individual, right? I'm sure you guys can agree.
Yeah, I think it's kind of piggybacking off of what you said, Dylan, but also taking it, not that consistency isn't like important, but I think if you take consistency and you go kind of like the foundation of consistency, I think we can all agree is discipline. Because if you have discipline, you do things when you don't want to do them, which means you're not just doing them when you're motivated. You're not just doing it when you feel good or things are going well for you. You're doing them every single day. And that every single day is the consistency, and the consistency combined with the discipline leads to the results, the life changes, the whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. I know me personally, when I was in high school, I never really worked out. I was always like a naturally good athlete, objectively speaking. But I was never as big as some of the dudes on, specifically for my football team. And I was the typical, like, I'd work out with my buddy in his basement. His dad was a power lifter. So I'd work out with them for 2 or 3 days, and then I'd get DOMS and I'd be extremely sore, like could barely move. So then I'd stop for the next week or 2 weeks, and then I'd go back for a day or two. And it was this never ending cycle of I wasn't disciplined enough. I wasn't consistent. And eventually, I'll be super, super, super transparent here. It took my first girlfriend breaking up with me in college to kind of really use that as the fire in under my butt to get me to become disciplined. I was so
Mm.
consistent with the gym. It started out 3 times a week. It became 4, it became 5, it became 6. And eventually I had a phase where I was doing doubles like 3 times a week, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday double. Um, and that's where like it all started. And that's when I saw the biggest transformation physically for me was thanks to my my first ever girlfriend.
That's how it
Um,
always starts, man. It really is.
yeah,
It
yeah,
really
it's
is.
but from that discipline and from the consistency, I built confidence. I built a greater sense of work ethic. I learned more about myself outside of the reading that I do now for books about self-help, motivation, mindset, you name it, I will read it. But again, that kind of mentality of always being disciplined, being consistent started there. And I'll be totally honest, like right now, my theme for this year has been discipline. Like I
Mm.
kind of lacked discipline last year with things that were happening in my life, and I was not as disciplined and therefore I wasn't as consistent. So now my goal is to get back to that, and I think we can all agree that that's kind of the cornerstone of whatever change you want to bring about.
Oof. I love that you said cornerstone. That's so key. That's so key. Just the I did a lot of research into this. Actually the cornerstone, what that is. It just for the audience, just people that are listening, maybe they don't understand the real technical term of a carpenter for the cornerstone. The cornerstone sets the foundation. It is the pivotal point. It is the main point that everything else functions and is born off of. It all is built around that cornerstone, that fundamental point. Without that, you have just, who knows what, but you're just a lot of things that come up, go down, some things that are set in stone, some things that break and fall. But without that cornerstone, you're not going to have a structure. You're not going to have a house. That's such a key thing. And it all starts from discipline. Just like Josh said, it builds you into who you are now, and who you're supposed to become. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is it's pretty similar, but it's a little different. And I think it all just started with like the mindset and discipline. Um, I grew up with Dylan, so we went to high school together. But in high school, I was always the smallest kid in my grade, always the shortest, the skinniest. That was me. I played all the sports, but I wasn't like great at all of them until I got track. I was good at track. I was really fast. So I went to a junior college and they didn't have track. So the only thing they had was cross country. I may not have been the best cross country runner, but I was the most disciplined. And it got me to nationals. And so I went from being a sprinter in high school to a long distance track or a long distance cross country runner in a matter of a year. Like I had no time. I just hopped right on it and then stayed disciplined. I was doing, I don't know, I think like anywhere from 8 to 10 miles every morning and then another 8 to 10 every evening. So at the end of my senior year of college, I was 120 pounds because I mean, I was dedicated to running. So I was tiny. And my experience is really similar to Josh's. My first girlfriend, we were dating for like 6 years. We broke up. And then this was after college. I was still about 120, 130 pounds. And I was like, I'm going to switch from running and I'm just going to use this mindset and this discipline into something else. And that's when I started weight training. And really, I just got disciplined every day. Waking up, I would wake up at 6, make sure I eat a meal, and then a couple hours later, I would set a timer, eat another meal. So the first few years, it was all just about eating and then training, so like it's that mindset of I was not the best lifter. Again, I wasn't the best runner, but I was so disciplined and I trained so hard that that's kind of where it's got me to today. So that mindset is mind over matter in almost anything you do. You might not be the best in the gym, you might not know the most, but the discipline and the dedication is what's going to take you to that next level. And luckily, I've just continued on and, you learn throughout the years and that's what's kept me going.
Amen. I think we should name this episode, honestly, what girls build us into, That's like a common theme, dude. I swear.
But it's so true though. Like,
It is, right? It
not to
is.
be like, not to, this isn't like a social, like behavioral episode, but it is super true that like women essentially come into this world, and as they get older, that they already have built-in value to them. Whereas as a man, it's like, yeah, you hear this masculine and feminine energy, but like as a man, like as a kid in high school, I'm like, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
what does that dude have over me? And as you go through these unfortunate, shitty situations, shitty breakups, whatever the case might be, you learn that like as a man, it's your job to I mean, I'll just speak for myself, but like I have a great set of parents. Like my dad was always there for me. He provided for us. He did everything. Like you're supposed to be the provider for your family. And part of your value as a man is it's unfortunate to say, but it is how much you provide physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. Like you're the cornerstone of the family. Like you
True.
look at successful kids that grow up to be successful, most of the time they have a father in their life or some sort of father figure. And it it you got to learn as a guy growing up, you got to learn how to create value for yourself. And
Oof.
one of my mentors, ironically, who he's a social media guy. His favorite thing to tell young guys is get jacked and make a lot of money. And at the end of the day, it sounds superficial, but at the same time, it's true. Because as we've talked about, as we've gotten physically stronger, bigger, faster, whatever your goals are from a physical standpoint, I think we can all agree that the mentality that dedication, that discipline, that consistency brings, therefore carries over into all aspects of life. And if we take our value as a man, like your job is to be able to provide for your family. So financially speaking, you can take that exact same mindset and apply that to an online coaching business, a PT business, a brick and mortar business, whatever the case might be. And again, over time, just like you don't start benching 225 right away. You're not going to start making hundreds of thousands of dollars right away. Like it's going to take months. It's going to take years, the sweat equity, so to speak, before you see the payoffs in your business and your fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, you mentioned the guy you're watching. Who is it?
Okay, so two of them. One of them is Bedros Keuilian.
I knew it.
And the other is have you heard of the Real AF podcast by Andy Frisella?
Yep. Ooh,
Those two,
brilliant guys.
are like those two, and then Ed Milet are like my three like favorite business entrepreneurial I guess we'll say mindset podcasts.
Oh, dude, I've been watching so much of all three of those guys. Dude, Rob Deertech, right?
Oh yeah.
That guy, ridiculousness. Dude,
Yeah.
he was on Ed Milet's show.
Yeah, I listened to that like 3 weeks ago. It's a great episode.
Blew my mind. Such a great episode, man. Oh my gosh. Dropped some great knowledge. But I knew as soon as you said that, get jacked, make a lot of money, I knew it was Bedros. I was like, that's awesome. But he's such a great person to really, he spits so much truth. And that's what I love about it. His message, his word, and definitely talks about, I love how he talks about, you got a fighter pilot or you got a crop duster, right?
Yeah.
You can be a fighter pilot, you can be a go-getter, you can be an alpha, or you can be a crop duster, which is in regards to being a sheep, a docile sheep, man. So absolutely building that value system, dude, that is such a key thing. And unfortunately, we don't learn that. We don't learn that in school. We don't learn that through the main part of our lives, through what we're put through, right? We're put through years and years of schooling that teaches us supposed to teach us all relevant information, but shoot, we don't learn the most important stuff. But
Yeah.
we do learn it from our society. And man, that's scary right now with the way our society is going. But still, I also love how he says, you know, you have to have that rite of passage. That rite of passage, you know, he talks about like knights and squires, you know, and all throughout the medieval times and even in the Roman Empire, they had squires. If you were a knight, if you were a legionnaire, if you were somebody who was fighting, an army man, you know, going through doing these very challenging tasks, putting your life on the line to save people, to serve your country, whatever it may be, you know, you took on this squire. You had this squire, this little boy, and growing up into a man, but you taught them the ways of the world, you know, how to act, how to be, how to think, how to feel, how to view women, how to view yourself, how to act as a man, and what to do, learn how to provide for yourself and for your family. And that is something that it's kind of switched, you know. There's still that rite of passage, but we're getting that rite of passage from other things like the media, things like social media. We're looking to other people because on a deeper level, dude, I feel like all of us, we really are seeking for that person to learn from. I know I was, you know, I never really talked much about my story in this sense, but you know, I come from a split family. So my mom and my dad split up when I was 2, and I saw my dad every other weekend. But going back and forth from my hometown where my mom lived to my dad's town every other weekend, you know, it did some things to me. It kind of set me apart where I saw myself as like an outsider, you know. So all I really had was sports. All I put my everything in was sports. It became my identity, it became everything I was, athlete. And I thought, and I always had this thought of, in order to be something, in order for people to like me, I had to perform. I had to perform well. And that's what my value system was built around for the longest time. And then out of college, you know, I made some bad choices in college, did some not horrible things, but did some things I'm not proud of, you know, and as I'm sure a lot of us can relate to. But after that, I was thrown into the world. And then I had to face all of those consequences. I had to face those bad decisions in the face. I had to look the devil right in the eyes, you know? And unfortunately, sometimes that devil was me looking back in the mirror. And I was not happy with what I saw, you know? I was not happy with the person that I built because I realized I didn't have a value system set up. I had to learn it. I had to reteach myself what it really meant to be a man, to live in the world and to provide and to grow up and to set your family up in the future, because I was always thinking about that future. I was always thinking about, okay, this is where I am now. I'm single. I'm out of college. You know, I got student loan debt. I'm trying to make it in the world. I got no money come in. So what am I going to do, man? I tore my ACL. I can't play soccer. I learned how to sell, and that's what I really fell into. And I started rebuilding my value system based on serving people, based on doing that. And it led me to, you know, who I am today. But it's just kind of from that, it kind of put me behind the curve, I would say, you know, but a little bit at the same time, everything happens for a reason. We go through situations that we go through for a reason. We learn what we had to learn for a reason. It builds you into the person you are today. And there's a stoic way of looking at this. Everything that did happen was the best thing that happened because it happened. There was no better alternative because the thing that happened was the best thing that could have happened, and because it did happen. You know, having that mindset, viewing things in that way of thinking, it really starts to get you to, you know, open yourself up and see the value that you can bring. You know, you're not just what society labels you as, what people label you as. You know, you're not these labels. You're so much more than that. But you have to develop it. You have to go deep within yourself to uncover that, you know? That's huge, man. Finding that value system in who you are, knowing that you're not these labels. You're not the athlete. You are, but you're not just that. You're so much more. You're an infinite potential of energy. That's what all of us are. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, going off of that, I totally agree that everything happens for a reason. I was kind of talking to you about this earlier, but when I was at my peak, so this is a few years into lifting, I was really dedicated, and I had gained about 80 pounds since my senior year of college. I was around 200 after about 3 years or so. So, I mean, I was dedicated. I was at the height, and then I broke my arm and I tore my bicep. If you guys are wondering, I was arm wrestling and it was brutal. My humerus snapped. It was terrible. And I had the option, I could do surgery for quicker recovery. But he's like, you're gonna have some pain, when you work out. And I was like, what about if we don't do surgery? So I didn't do surgery, and my arm is still slightly curved, just because I didn't do surgery. But I don't have any pain when I work out anymore. My bicep is a little, you can tell that it was torn because the tendon isn't like how it should have been. So my right biceps not quite the same. But yeah, I think all of this happened for a reason, and there's a few reasons really. I think lifting comes in like these stages, right? You start working out because you want to feel better, and then you get addicted to it, you like it, and then there's almost this point where like I feel like you're almost like overly confident sometimes, and like I did the same thing. I was making all these decisions that I shouldn't have. My values weren't there. I was missing out on time with important people. And so like that just kind of set me back to where, I grounded myself, like it humbled me, and it changed my values more. Yes, the gym is just as important, but, I value the dedication. I value other things also. And I was almost too dedicated to the gym, overly confident that, it humbles you. But along with that, if I would never broken my arm, I would not have gotten into PT. So just taking the good with the bad and all of it.
Dusty, do you feel like during that time, because I know my answer, but I'm curious for you and for Dylan, do you feel like when you were in that, we'll say kind of like the heyday of your lifting, did you feel like you took on the label as like Dusty, the workout fanatic? Like that was who you were kind of, your ego, so to speak, like labeled you as? Because I know when I was in my thing, like when I was doing my thing, like I went from being an athlete in high school to not being an athlete in college to like becoming that's what I labeled myself as. Like I'm Josh, I'm the lifter, I'm the workout fanatic, this, that, and the other thing. And again, life throws like certain things at you, and it's like, let's redirect this mindset XYZ way. So
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, did you feel that kind of persona or label yourself at that
Yeah, for
point?
sure. Definitely. And then like as soon as that happened, I kind of lost like who am I? Like what am I supposed to do now? Because it was 6, 7 month recovery. And so I was very depressed. I went through a lot, kind of had to figure out what was important to me and refigure out myself. And honestly, it did make me better, as a person. So like it
Yeah.
sucked in the moment. Yeah, I had to refine kind of like myself and what I am as a person because I did, I labeled myself, and I feel like a lot of people did. It's just kind of like the gym guy because I was always there and that was kind of my life. And so I had to refigure out kind of my
Yeah,
whole life there.
Yeah,
exactly.
same here, man. 100%, 100%. I know from literally growing up, I played sports. I played baseball, basketball. I started playing football in like junior high and high school. I played soccer in high school. I did everything I possibly could. I was a runner, and that's what I was. And then going into college, my second year, I tore my ACL and I was done. I was out. For the first time in my life, I experienced like, okay, I'm not that anymore. Like that's what I used to be. What am I now? Like, dude, it hit me in the face. Absolutely. And I had to come to terms with that. I had to really realize, like, okay, I face a choice here. And I feel like everybody faces this choice at some point. If you get caught up in these labels that the ego literally sets you in, your ego, you you see yourself in this way, you become that. Everybody talks and say, oh yeah, that's him, he's an athlete, he does this, that, whatever it might be. He's a lifter, he's a bodybuilder, he lifts weights. But then once that's done, you have to face this choice. Okay, what do I do? What do I do now? Where do I go? Who do I become? What am I? You can either do one of two things here. And we see this playing out time and time again in society. You can either become the victor of your situation, or you can become the victim. You can complain about how it happened to you, and you can say, oh man, this this is what I used to be. And you can get caught up in what you used to be. And you can be like all these people that talk about, in high school, I was a star athlete. I was a running back. I did this. And they're 40 years old sitting at a bar with a beer belly, But you can talk about it or get caught up in what you used to be and say, yeah, but this happened to me, man. And this happened. It was so unfair. He did this happened, these situations, God did this to me. But that's not the truth. That's just your victim mentality. And that's just, you're being docile. You're being less than what you were created to be. Because at the end of the day, honestly, everything in life is an opportunity. It really is. It's either an opportunity or things just happen. You become a victim. And if you're a victim, then everything in life is an aggressor. It's aggressive towards you. And that's just not true. That's just not true at all. So if you flip it, if you see things as the opportunity, like I had to do, I had to flip it and I say, okay, I can't lift, I can't run. I don't have a leg that works right now. I was on the couch for like 2 weeks and I couldn't even sit on the couch anymore, honestly. I had to get up and start moving, which my doctor told me not to do. But I said, you know what? I can't do that. I'm an athlete. I still kind of held on to it, but I said, no, I'm always active. I got to do something. So I forced myself into it. I became the victor of my situation and I refused to accept what the doctors told me. I refused to accept what society labeled me as. And I refused to accept what the circumstances were bringing me towards. And I made the most out of it. I flipped it on its head and I became the victor of my situation. I learned how to lift weights. I started, building muscle. I started hitting upper body. I was literally in a cast and in a boot in the gym, still pushing and repping out weights, learning how to, build my upper body. And that started to respond. I started to build muscle quick. And I was like, dude, this is looking great. This is awesome. And a couple years later, I fell into bodybuilding. I started becoming a bodybuilder. And that just opened the door to who I am today. You got to see things. You got to flip that, because life isn't happening to you. It's happening because of you. You can either become the victim or you can become the victor of your situation. And I always choose the latter. Always. Sure. So we're almost out of time here, guys, but what are some final thoughts that you think we could leave for everyone watching this today?
My best advice would be to go out and go get what you want. Like, I know for me, when it comes to when I first got into coaching, and just doing stuff in general, I always thought I had to know all the information and before I would go do something. And I was the prime example of paralysis by analysis, excuse me.
Oh yeah.
Whereas now it's bro, just go out and go do it. Go do it. Yeah, obviously do your research, but just go out and do it. It sounds really bad and really simple, but it is. You got to be okay with the sink or swim mentality. And if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out a way to swim in just about every situation. And so therefore, whatever it is, you want to start a business, you want to, I don't know, go ask some chick for her number or go move across country. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure out a way to do it and essentially embrace the sink or swim mentality.
Yeah. You'll always float. You'll always swim. You always find out a way. Always.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Yep.
Cool. All right, guys. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you for listening to our stories. And I hope those really were able to resonate with you, help you see things on a different level, maybe open your mind to the truth of reality and see that it's not all just black and white. There's things that happen to all of us. We all struggle. We all hit trials and tribulations. If anything, it has to play out that way because you have to be broken in order to be remade into something that you were always supposed to become. So thank you guys for joining us today. We will see you on the next call. Hi guys, thank you for watching this video. I am so honored to be here, to be your guide, and to help you build the body of your dreams. If you found this video useful, if you liked it, share it with a friend, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, smash the bell so you can get notified when we create more muscle building content so you can learn the keys and the fundamentals of success. Thank you guys again for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.